We are moving into a future that's going to be fantastic for everybody. But the journey is going to be what the journey is going to be. And if you're a pessimist, it's going to be bumpy. But if you're an optimist, if you see the glass half full, it's going to be joyous. I invite you to be one of the latter. Welcome to another episode of AI and Spirit. This is the YouTube series in which I talk about the convergence that is occurring between technology and spirituality. I examine from a spiritual lens the technological singularity, which is actually a spiritual inflection, a moment in time when enough members of humanity have lined up with a future probable reality in which we live in total abundance, 100% free, and able to focus primarily upon our spiritual expansion. And in this episode, oh boy, I have a lot to talk about. And I should begin this episode by describing to you, or by sharing with you, that what you're about to hear is strictly my opinion, informed by my broader perspective. And in a little while, talking about a few years, if you follow my Positively Focused YouTube channel, you're going to see how my opinion, informed by my broader perspective, is quite accurate with regard to what is unfolding. I'm not trying to self-aggrandize myself, but when a person, such as me or my clients, focus in a particular way in physical reality, we're able to perceive the unfolding alignment that is drawing into our collective now the probable future reality that is most aligned with the dominant vibration of collective human society. This is not some sort of esoteric supernatural ability. We all have this ability, and deep within ourselves we are all one, and so we have access to what is actually happening in physical reality as an expression of the greater selves that we are, the expanded nature of what each and every one of us are. And so this opinion I'm going to share is really going to be about taking a different look at what some experts and the media are talking about relative to this technological singularity that I talk about in this series, which is actually a spiritual inflection. So let's jump in. I want to start with an infographic I had artificial intelligence create for me after being curious about the statistic I've been hearing in the news, subgenre of the news, not the mainstream news, that was saying that the vast majority of Americans are extremely pessimistic about the artificial intelligence future, the AI future. They're essentially scared. While at the same time, I also know that there are hundreds of millions of Americans who are using artificial intelligence. And so I was curious. I wanted to deep dive into the nature of this seeming paradox between, on the one hand, United States citizens fearing AI, and on the other hand, United States citizens really embracing AI in their daily lives. And so I had my artificial intelligence chatbot create for me an infographic, which I'm going to share right now. And I'm going to walk you through this because it looks really complicated, but it's not really. Essentially, this is an infographic that is comparing how America sees artificial intelligence and how the rest of the world sees it. And the research reveals a really stunning attitude gap. Americans are way more worried and less optimistic about artificial intelligence than pretty much every other part of the developed world. And the graphic shows in the main part of the graphic on the left-hand side in the dark blue are statistics from the United States. And by the way, these are all these figures are verified. You can see the sources on the bottom left. I didn't make any of this up. This is real world data. So on the left-hand side, you see the United States, and on the right-hand side, you see the 24-country average. And what the real just stunning gap is this first statistic. 39% of Americans say AI has more benefits than drawbacks. 39%. That means a little over 70% of Americans believe that AI presents more drawbacks than benefits. On the other side of the graph, we see, or the infographic, we see that the world believes, 59% of the world believes the exact opposite, that AI has more benefits than drawbacks. It's a really interesting gap. 70% of Americans believe that AI has more drawbacks than benefits. Meanwhile, less than 50% of the world believes the same thing. With regard to benefits, 39% of Americans believe there are more benefits coming as a result of the AI, whereas in the rest of the world, almost 60%, almost 2/3 of citizens of the world outside of the US believe that more benefits are coming as a result of AI than drawbacks. The rest of the middle part of this graph is pretty much equal. Both American citizens and world citizens are concerned about job loss. Their personal feelings about artificial intelligence is about the same. Their personal job concerns. So there's general job loss, which is the middle, where the suitcase icon is. And then there's personal concerns over their individual job, which is right below that. And then there's the support for regulation. The interesting thing is everybody in the world, according to this data, supports some sort of regulation. And it looks as though, moving up from the bottom, support for regulation, it looks as though everyone is equal with regard to worrying that their own job might go away. And everyone in the world is generally equal with regard to the prospect that AI is going to lead to fewer jobs in 20 years. Now, I've been saying for quite some time in this series that artificial intelligence is going to eliminate most jobs. So the fear that people are having about that, the fear is based on fact, I believe. But the fear itself is problematic. And this is why at the bottom of this infographic on the right-hand side, I had AI say that the future isn't being shaped only by technology or the facts of technology. It's also being shaped by what humanity expects is possible. So your expectations create reality. In other words, whether it's you or an entire species like human civilization or the world, when we have an expectation, what that expectation is a belief. And that belief, whether it's positive or negative, is charged by, it's charged by the emotion that we have associated with that thought or belief. So if we as a collective species predominantly fear AI, then we're drawing to us from all the infinite probable and alternate future realities within which AI exists. If we fear AI, then we're drawing from all of those probable and alternate future realities a reality in which AI is going to match, the result of AI is going to match our fears. This is why it's so important, not just in your personal life, but as a collective society, that we remain as positive as possible. But the United States, on so many subjects, is one of the most pessimistic nations in the world. And the same is true with regard to this AI phenomenon. And at the bottom of this graphic, where it says the bottom line, you can see that the statistics show that Americans aren't rejecting AI because they're using it. They're using artificial intelligence in droves, and so are businesses. But they're worried, cautious, and want guardrails. It's one thing to want safeguards. It's another thing to want safeguards while you're feeling extreme fear. And that emotional charge associated with the belief that's generating the fear is problematic. So there's more I want to talk about in this graphic. This is an amazing video that I'm creating as I'm going through this, because there's so much information and there's so much more I want to share, because this is such an interesting and also important subject, especially related to the bottom right hand of this graphic. That it's crucial because the future we're creating is being shaped by what humanity expects is possible with regard to artificial intelligence. And thank goodness, the dominant momentum, I've said this in my previous AI and Spirit episodes, the dominant momentum, it's showing right here on this graph, or this infographic, the dominant momentum in the world is that 2/3 of human beings believe that AI has more benefits than drawbacks. And so this is why we're seeing the momentum that I talk about in these AI and Spirit videos. This is why we're seeing the momentum of humanity being aligned with the probable future reality that the tech people who are responsible for implementing AI are calling the Star Trek universe, the Star Trek future, that future of abundance in which we're going to live in a society that is almost completely unpredictable, given the boom that's going to occur when the 2 supersonic tsunamis, the first one being artificial intelligence, the second one being embedded artificial intelligence, which is humanoid robots and other form factor robots with artificial intelligence inside of them. When these supersonic tsunamis hit, wash over our society, the society is going to be dramatically different than what we have today. And so I've said over and over again that in the beginning of every AI and Spirit episode, that the dominant momentum right now in humanity is that this AI thing is a good thing and something we should want. And that's what the data show. 2/3 of human beings believe that this is a good thing, and that's why it's happening. Now, I was interested too in the fact that so many ordinary Americans fear AI. I'm interested in the dichotomy that so many Americans fear AI, yet those who are implementing artificial intelligence are extremely optimistic about the future. And so I wanted to look at that data also. And this infographic at the bottom on the left-hand side compares and contrasts the difference in opinions between experts who are implementing the AI, so artificial intelligence researchers and practitioners and developers and such. It's comparing those people with the U.S. general population, and the general population is represented in that dark pink bars, and the AI experts are represented in the dark blue bars. And the conclusion one can draw by the data is that the experts are far more optimistic about what's going to happen than the public in every aspect of life. So look at this. So the gap is huge between the public and the experts. 73% believe that 73% of experts are positive about AI's impacts on jobs. Only 23% of Americans are positive. That means basically the same amount of experts that are positive, the amount, this is a little confusing. Whenever I look at statistics or data, I always want to look at what the data show and then also what the data as it's showing is not showing. So like the inverse. So in this case, like the jobs portion of this lower left-hand graph comparing experts and the US public, it's showing that 73% of experts have a positive impression of the impact AI will have on jobs. Conversely, only 23%, a little less than a quarter of the US population, agree. The converse of that, those two statistics is true too. That means only 23%, essentially, well, it's not 23%, it's 100 minus 73. So basically, somewhere around 30% of experts believe AI is going to have a negative impact on jobs. Meanwhile, about 75% of the general public believes that it's going to have a negative impact on jobs. So it's really interesting when you go across the row of these indicators to see how huge the gap is between those who are enmeshed and involved in artificial intelligence versus the general public. And I believe that one of the reasons, there's a couple of reasons I believe why this is happening, this gap is showing up. One is because I believe the technologists are deeply embedded in what they're doing and they want it. From a spiritual perspective, they are aligned with that probable future. And when you're aligned with it, you tend to be very positive if you're consciously aligned. I think the other reason why is because the researchers have firsthand experience with what they're developing and they can see the trends. The general public, on the other hand, is relying mostly on the media and people in their echo chamber to shape how they feel and what they believe about technology and artificial intelligence. And that's why their opinions are so dramatically different. So it's interesting. The next one is the economy. AI experts are, 69% of AI experts are positive about the impacts that artificial intelligence is going to have on the economy. That means roughly 40% of experts are not positive about it. But only 21% of the general public is positive about how artificial intelligence is going to be impacting the economy. Whereas 80% of the general public believes it's going to have a negative impact on the economy. These gaps are huge. And then with regard to medicine, education, and daily life, it's pretty much the same across the board. The gaps narrow a little bit, but not by much. And then on the right-hand side of the graph, on the bottom there, the general trend is that Americans expect artificial intelligence to transform life more quickly across these sectors of American life. And this is the speed with which this is going to happen is why I believe the general public is, why the gap exists between experts and the general public, because the speed with which it's happening is kind of whiplashing the general public because they're not involved in the development, nor are they oriented positively to, generally speaking, to their future. And so they're seeing this tremendous speed happening and it's causing them to stand in worry and fear. This is an excellent infographic. If you're interested in receiving the infographic, I'm totally willing to share it with you. Send me a message in the comment section and I will send it to you in an email. So the reason why I was interested in looking at the statistics is because in a recent Moonshots episode, the members of the Moonshots group were talking about a research study that was conducted. I don't remember the name of the study, but the bottom line of the study was, contrary to societal and technologists' assertions, companies in the US are not firing employees and replacing them with artificial intelligence. Instead, companies in the US are hiring more people. And this study seems to assert that we're going to see increasing hiring as a result of artificial intelligence, not decreasing hiring. And I want to play you the section of this Moonshots podcast in which these guys, these are futurists and technology experts, and a couple of them are really deeply enmeshed in artificial intelligence. I want to play this 6-minute clip where they're discussing this research, and then come back and talk with and share my own comments about what I think is happening relative to the data I just showed you in the infographic and what these people are talking about in this clip. Let's take a listen.
Let's jump into our next subject. One of the reasons we're always concerned about UBI, UBE, all of that is the concerns around job loss. So our next story is about jobs and the continuing debate about whether AI is going to be creating or destroying jobs now and in the near future. So we've covered both sides of the story. It's been murky. We've given evidence for both sides. A new paper released this past week by Ramp and Revelio Labs gave some pretty definitive data here. They looked at 21,559 U.S. companies over the past 5 years between January 2021 and February 2026, matching the actual AI spend of those companies and their workforce records, meaning hires and fires. So here's the headlines. Companies that spent heavily on AI did not shrink. In fact, they grew. So the high-intensity AI adopters that they studied were spending $33 per employee per month on AI. They grew 10.2% in the white collar and 12% at entry-level growth. In contrast, the low-intensity adopters spent $3 per employee per month, basically a tenth, and showed no significant employment change. The authors warn this is correlation, not causation, but it puts forward a very different theory. Rather than the AI is going to replace workers, it suggests that AI may expand ambition first. Companies that actually integrate AI deeply may take on more projects, serve more customers, build faster, hire more humans, especially entry level, to capture the upside. So I love this story. I mean, for me, this is a abundance optimism story for people because there's a lot of fear out there. My concern about this story is that regardless of what the data says, the news media is out there and the underlying belief is that AI is going to destroy our jobs, and it will displace a number of things, right? With robo-taxis and AI call center workers and so forth. But the evidence looks like, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm hiring more people in my companies than ever before. Yeah. I don't know if that's true for you, Dave and Alex.
God, if anyone's AI native, their demand for that person is through the roof.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's rampant. And I'm starting to feel like this is a permanent thing, not a transitional thing. Because one of the things to worry about is, look, implementing AI is such a payback that there's this land grab of talent. Anyone who can implement it, any bank, any insurance company, any operating company, anyone who can get AI to work in this shop, we will hire them for whatever they cost. Is that transitional? Because once they've implemented the AI, they've coded themselves out, or is it permanent? I feel more and more like it's permanent. Like as the AI improves, the things you can do also grow, and that person's value goes up over time. And so the data, I think, is very early inklings of what's inevitable, where AI native organizations are going to just grow like wild, and they're going to add headcount as they do it. And anyone who's sitting still hasn't fired everybody yet, but eventually they're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. And so what you see right now is net growth.
Yeah, this is what we call the organizational singularity, right? If you're an AI native, AI centric organization, if you're doing deep redesign of your workflows to be AI native, then you have an explosive opportunity in front of you. Shallow adoption fails because this is not automation versus jobs. It's shallow adoption versus deep redesign. So we've started our pilot, by the way, of working with companies, so I'll report back as to how things are going. But we're unbelievably excited at the opportunities. We're like, we can't even count the number of workflows that we could help automate with these companies. So for each company, we're picking one workflow that might radically increase revenue and one workflow that might radically shrink cost. Right?
Totally.
And we've got like so many candidates for both sides. It's like crazy.
That's literally why you're in every city in the world every time we do a podcast. Because I mean, the demand for what you're teaching is so step function through the roof
It's the
instantaneously.
biggest shift in organizations in 100 years. It's like crazy.
Or probably in human history, I'll bet, of all time.
Salim,
And it applies not just to companies, but it applies to nonprofits and impact projects and government departments, everything.
So
it's going to be huge.
Just to
and
remind,
I love using token spend as a proxy for adoption, even though it's not perfect. It's reasonably good. So this study actually focused on token spend. It's a reasonably good way to say, are you doing it for real or not?
interestingly enough, we're still seeing a number of companies out there. Oracle blamed 21,000 layoffs on AI. Meta blamed 8,000 layoffs. Block 4,000. Cisco 4,000. Atlassian 1,600. And so the question is, are these CEOs just using AI as an excuse for reorganization, or is it true?
There's two things going on. One is, for example, it's well known that Block overhired radically and needed to shrink. So that's an easy hobby horse for shrinkage. The other is the note that the company is laying off for all SaaS companies, and the SaaS business model is fundamentally broken in an age of AI.
If you're a student out there worrying about can you get a job, worrying about everything you're hearing out there, please dive into the world of AI, of entrepreneurship. If you're a parent, have this conversation with your kids. It's really important. My goal is to dismiss fear. Right? There's real fear, but there's at least be fearful for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, just to point out, David Sachs talks about it all the time on the All In podcast that we're increasing jobs radically. Like we're increasing hiring. All the data shows that. Follow the data. That's it. Just be evidentiary.
And I know we've talked about it in the past on this podcast, being concerned about a lack of new entry jobs, and there probably are in certain industries. But if you're AI native, as Dave said, I think you've got massive opportunities.
So there's a couple things I want to respond to from this video. The first one is this notion of fear things that are worthy of your fear. And if you've listened to my videos on this channel, you know that fear is not something you want to be holding on to. Fear is an emotion. It's a vibrational frequency that's telling you a number of really important things that you want to know. The most important thing there's a lot that emotion is telling you. And one of the things it's telling you is the thing that you're fearing because the fear is telling you that you're aligning yourself with the probable future reality in which that fear materializes. And if you keep holding on to the thing that's causing the fear within you, you're going to experience that probable future reality as you're now. So you don't want to be fearing anything. You want to use the indicator that fear is to change your thoughts and beliefs so that then you can align with the future probable reality that's aligned with what you want to happen. I talk about this every week with my clients, and it's not an easy thing to do if you don't have something like the positively focused framework within which to navigate your relationship with your emotions. But every human being has the ability to shape the alignment that is creating the reality experiences that they're creating. So you don't have to be fearing the future that is AI enabled. The second thing I want to respond to from this clip is Salim, the bald guy, was talking about the tremendous opportunities that his company helps other companies embrace the technological singularity. And he's talking about how he is finding in all of his customers, which are not just for-profit companies, but also non-profit companies, his organization is finding ways, he said, to automate making money and lowering costs. I was going to say if he's doing that, but he's not. It's not an if. He's doing it. So think about that. He's automating within these companies and nonprofits the ability to make money and the ability to cut costs. That being the case, how can you not end up with smaller companies with fewer people in them? There are several other things that these four guys said that point to the fact that indeed we're moving into a future where there isn't going to be a whole lot of jobs. And this is not anything to fear. So what's interesting is this question. If we're moving into a reality where there are going to be fewer jobs and there's going to be this massive unemployment that you're talking about, Perry, why are the companies hiring so much? Why is this research showing that companies are hiring instead of firing? And the answer is simple, you guys. The answer is it's the same what we're seeing today is the same phenomena we saw when factories began to integrate electricity. When factories began to integrate electricity, we needed a whole bunch of electricians. And every company was wanting to get electricity into their factory. And so they hired a buttload of electricians. Another example is railroads. Oil is another example. When the oil boom occurred and the railroad expansionary boom occurred, there were a whole bunch of jobs that were created to implement that technology. But once that technology was implemented, the number of jobs decreased. The difference between, this is so good, the difference between those booms and this boom is the technology that's being implemented is a far more capable technology. It's a technology that's going to be able to replicate and improve itself on its own. And once you put that into a human form factor, a humanoid robot or another kind of robot that doesn't need to be humanoid, then suddenly you have a replacement of human labor. So there's no way, in my mind, that I could see where human beings are still going to be substantially employed, which is why so many technologists are talking about this glut of human labor that's coming. So I had my AI agent create a couple of comics that I want to share with you now to kind of illustrate this. I know some people do better with visuals than with spoken word, and some people do better reading than with visuals. So I created these comics and I want to share them with you. The first one is an explanation of what I just said. So this transition is real, and I'm not saying that the transition is going to be smooth and easy and fun for most people. For the Americans who are pessimistic about the future, and it's like 80%, between 60 and 80% of Americans are pessimistic about, they're anxious, they're fearful about the future. And for those people that are fearing the future, for those people, this interim period is going to be messy. It's going to be hard for them. But if you're looking at this future unfolding from a perspective of the glass being half full, which all of my clients are discovering how to do, then this future is fucking exciting. It's thrilling. It's amazing. Even though, as some of my clients are experiencing, they are unemployed or they're on meager incomes, they're still excited about their life experience. So let's take a look at this comic. This is really important. So this transition is real. It's going to be messy, but it doesn't have to feel messy to you. But more importantly, the destination, where we're going, is extremely promising, and it's going to be beautiful. And whether or not you experience that transition as messy or not is a choice. So what's happening is, yes, companies are hiring more people. They're going to train those people. They're going to teach those people how to use the tools, the AI tools, and they're going to redesign those companies. Before, so I'm at panel 3 now, before a person had, most employees in today's capitalist world in America feel overwhelmed. They feel overwhelmed. They have more to do than they can do. Once they learn artificial intelligence, the tools that artificial intelligence offers, and I'm experiencing this in my own workflow and creating this channel and the other things that I do, those same people are going to become 2 times, maybe even 5 times more productive, which means they're going to be able to produce more value for the companies than they were producing before. The input's going to be the same. I'm at panel 4 now. The input is going to be the same. The costs are going to be the same and may even reduce, but the output is going to dramatically increase. So we're going to have, these companies are going to have the same teams, but they're going to have a much bigger impact. Now in panel 5, this is the transitionary point that's, I believe, going to happen in all of the companies. Management is going to start asking really smart questions. They're going to say, hey, if we can get the same results faster and cheaper, why are we still keeping 12 people when probably 6 people or less can do the same amount of work? And that's where you're going to see the optimization illustrated in panel 6. You're going to see a great reduction first in knowledge work and then in manual labor as artificial or humanoid robots come to fore. So panel 7 shows that this disruption is real. This is going to happen. Just because a bunch of companies are hiring people doesn't mean that's going to be the state. So one of the people in the moonshot clip I played, his name is Dave Blunden. He's the gray-haired guy, the skinny guy in the office. He was talking about how he perceives this as going to be a trend that's going to continue, this hiring trend. It doesn't make any sense that that's going to happen. In fact, when I was talking with one of my clients recently about this phenomenon as I was putting this video together, this client has an economics background. I'm going to put a screenshot of what he said about this idea that the hiring is going to continue. And what he was saying, essentially what he said was, America is a capitalist country. It's based on capitalism, and capitalism is about maximizing efficiency and productivity in order to generate profit. And so it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that American capitalism is going to sustain companies continuing to hire when capitalism demands efficiency, which means cutting costs and cutting out human labor and replacing it with artificial intelligence, which will be cheaper, way cheaper, is the way to go. This is what we're heading towards. And so the question again is, are you going to experience that from a perspective of fear, or are you going to experience it from a perspective of optimism and eagerness? Are you going to see the glass half empty, or are you going to see the glass half full? And we're at panel 7 here on this comic. Panel 8 shows once the disruption occurs, or as the disruption occurs, society is going to reinvent itself, and it's going to move from a labor-based economy to a creativity-based one. And I'm not talking about creativity as labor. I'm talking about creativity with regard to understanding what we are as spiritual beings. That's what's going to unfold here. And so you can see these 4 subpanels in panel 8. Financial security for everyone. I believe that's going to be a UBI and a sovereign fund. Purpose and creativity is going to shift to art, innovation, and passion projects. Everyone's going to receive and enjoy education for life at no cost. And we're going to see large shifts in connection and community. All of this producing new opportunities, new meaning, and new choices. And then in panel 9, this is the kicker. The future is not set in stone. And if we navigate it wisely, which in my mind means if we are eager and passionate and excited, those are all positive emotions. If we're eager, passionate, and excited about the future, that is the future that's going to unfold. And I'm so glad that the majority of human beings are focused in that way. 60% of the world says that AI has more benefits coming than drawbacks. That's the tipping point I was talking about before. And the experts agree. The experts see the same thing. And so I created another comic strip that I want you to see. I know this video is a longer one than I typically create, but as I said at the beginning, there's so much goodness here, and this is a very information-dense video that I've created for you. I've actually created it for myself, and I'm really enjoying sharing this with you right now because it amplifies my own joy and eagerness and enthusiasm for what's coming and for what's happening right now. So let's take a look at this other comic. This other comic is about what I was saying a minute ago. Most of the world is optimistic about this AI future, and so they're aligned with the probable future reality in which, when it becomes our now, the future is going to be way better than today. And the experts who are implementing this technology are the amplifiers of that focus. So this is why the experts are more optimistic about AI than the public. It's the same technology, but they have different information. They have a different way of looking at it because they're deeply involved in it. And as a result of that, they have different expectations about what's going to happen. And those expectations are creating those people's reality. And before we go any further on this, I need to say, re-emphasize this. I've said it before in my Worthiness Wednesdays episodes and some of my AI and Spirit episodes. Whatever you focus on gets bigger. So if you're focusing on the idea that AI is going to take your job, that's probably going to happen for you. So let's take another look at this comic. So in the first panel, what we're doing here is we're contrasting why experts are so optimistic about this future and why the general public is not. So in the first panel, it's illustrating how AI experts, they get to see the data. They get to see the exponential growth in the trajectory that's happening with artificial intelligence because they're the ones that's creating the stuff. In the meanwhile, the average American is basically getting their information from the news. And here's the thing about the news, you guys. This is why I tell my clients not to pay attention to the news, because the news is a profit-making entity. They make money from your attention. And the way they keep your attention is by talking about negative shit. They always spin the news negatively. There are very, very few good news stories in the news. And so the general public is constantly being deluged with negative perspectives on current events. And so the average person is getting a certain stream of information, but the AI experts and researchers are getting a totally different stream of information. As a result of that dichotomy in panel 2, the general public has totally different expectations, generally speaking, than the experts. The experts are very encouraged because they see the potential of artificial intelligence because they're in it. But the general public doesn't tend to see that possibility because their reality doesn't include that information, even though the experts are communicating that to the general public through different media. So again, this illustrates what I say in my Worthiness Wednesday episodes, which is everyone's in their own unique physical reality. And as you can see from this comic, that the experts are in one physical reality. Look at panel 2. The experts are in one reality. Actually, all of these panels illustrate this. The experts are in one reality, and the general public is in a different reality. So at panel 3 now, because of the expectations that these two populations have, their focus is different. The general public is focused on the fear related to the transition, that messy period we're going to be moving through. The AI experts are focused on the destination, and so they're optimistic and eager. And in their eager optimism, they're trying to get the general public and our policymakers to do something in the now to smooth the messiness that's coming, because they want the destination. So now in panel 4 amplifies what I just said a few seconds ago. The two groups are each living in their own unique reality, and whatever reality you're living in is being created by the beliefs you hold. This should be obvious by the first 3 panels. And so, both populations are right. The experts are right, and the general public is right, to the degree that their expectations drive their beliefs, their expectations, drive their perspective. And so it's two sides of the same trajectory. But you don't have to line up with the pessimistic trajectory. I'm a general public person. I'm not a technology expert, but I'm seeing tremendous opportunity here, and so are most of my clients. So now panel 5, again, panel 5 amplifies everything I talk about in my videos. The gap between the general public and the experts is perspective, not smarts. The general public isn't ignorant. They're just being fed a bunch of information that confirms their fears, that confirms and amplifies their fears. The experts, on the other hand, they're building something, and because they're in it, they're enthusiastic about it. The cool thing about physical reality is we need both. We need people who are concerned, not panicking, concerned, and want to do something about what they see that concerns them. We need people like that. And we also need the experts who can come up with the solutions that soothe the people's concerns. So I'm not saying that the pessimists out there are bad. We need them to point out what needs to be improved so that the experts can take those actions. And that's what we see happening, which means that because of that dynamic I just described, where the pessimists see the problems, they voice it, and then the experts move in and solve those problems, it means the future is going to include problems solved. So panel 6 describes the bridge we're building. It says the bridge we need, but we're actually building this bridge as we move forward. We need smart policies, education for all, a fair economy. It's no longer going to be capitalism because that's not going to sustain us. A human-AI collaboration, which we see happening as people engage with artificial intelligence, and then values and ethics that align ourselves to the future we're moving into. It's so good. So panel 7 describes the fact that this is not either or. It has to be a collaboration built upon awareness and wisdom and action, which creates the future we're living in. And then panel 8 and 9 describe what I have been describing in all of my videos. It really is up to us. And this is one of the reasons why, this is the big reason why I created this YouTube channel, is because it being the future, really depends on each and every one of us bringing our unique perspective to the now and projecting that perspective out into physical reality. We cannot help but do that. We're constantly projecting our perspectives into physical reality, which then creates the reality we experience for us as individuals and for those who are matching our frequency vibration. And so it's incumbent on you to raise your vibration so that, number one, you can align with probable futures that are pleasing, and so that, number two, your ability to live that way aligned with expectations so that your probable future realities are pleasing. Your ability to live that way and other people seeing that happening for you then want it for themselves. That is powerful. That's how we improve society. And so it really is it's a person by person job. You have to do it for yourself. And then as you do it for yourself and people see you doing it, others want it too. How do you think I've developed this positively focused practice with clients? It's because those clients resonate with what I'm offering. They see my life improving, and then they want some of that, and then their life improves, and the next thing you know it, their entire family is participating. The same thing can happen with society, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I see the opportunity to radically improve civilization as a result of having each individual that's ready, become a more positive person, more spiritually attuned to all that they are. It's so good. We are moving into a future that's going to be fantastic for everybody. But the journey is going to be what the journey is going to be. And if you're a pessimist, it's going to be bumpy. But if you're an optimist, if you see the glass half full, it's going to be joyous. I invite you to be one of the latter. And if you do, you will become an outlier in the United States, presuming that you're in the United States. You can be one of the 39% that believes that 39% of Americans who believe that AI brings more benefits than drawbacks. And as a result of you becoming one of those people, you increase that number from 39 and have it more at parity with the rest of the world, where 2/3 of people in the world believe it's bringing more benefits than drawbacks. It's so good. Life is so good. Your life is so good. Where we're going as a civilization is so good. If you can't see that, I invite you to consider becoming a client. I've included links in the description of this video, where you can test drive becoming a client with me for free. Or if you're ready to become a client, you can click on the other link, which will take you to my calendar where you can book your sessions. No matter what you do. Oh, I should also say, since you're watching an AI and Spirit episode, that I also have created a series called Worthiness Wednesday, where I talk every week about the manifestations that my clients are producing in their own lives as a result of embracing the positively focused practice, the framework. And I also, on Sunday, every other Sunday, provide videos in which I offer instruction on how to implement the positively focused framework in your own life. So feel free to subscribe and watch those other series in addition to this one as we move forward through this technological singularity, which is actually a spiritual inflection. And for now, I'm complete. So I'll see you in the next video.